What's up, guys? This is the Gospel According to Mark with a C. He is I, and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. Thank you for joining me once again, my friends. Hope all is well with you. Now, guys, right off the top, I want to give a shout out once again to our good friends over at Bounding Into Comics, because this concerns an article that I saw from them a couple of days ago. Did a little reading into it and everything. So I want to bring it to you and get your opinion on this. I'm going to share my opinion, and you saw the thumbnail. You know what this has to deal with. Apparently there is a writer for a group that I didn't know existed, and this would be Geeks of Color. There are Geeks of Color out in the universe. They're out there. It's good to know there's Geeks of Color out there. You know what I mean? So anyway, Geeks of Color, and there's a writer by the name of Andres Cabrera. I think I almost got it. Andres. I'm saying Andres, not undress. Yes, undress sounds kinky. Do I make you horny, baby? Do I? Do I make you randy? Anyway, Andres has some very interesting things to say about the fandom. So we're going to get into what he wrote on Twitter, and let's talk about this. It says here, this is Andres. A lot of people forget this. Probably because it's not that important. A lot of people forget this, but there's a direct correlation between the white supremacist crowd and the unbridled hatred of the Star Wars sequels. Now, I saw it in real time, he says, as they scouted out the Star Wars fandom as a potential haven for spreading their messages of hatred. So they were out there passing out flyers. Do you hate Star Wars? Do you hate Star Wars? Do you hate blacks? I bet you hate the blacks. All right, so anyway, it goes on. It started with the straightforward racist approach of hating on The Force Awakens because a black stormtrooper was one of the leads of the movie. Is that true? Is it true? Is that true? Now, listen, I know that there were a lot of people out there, who were a little bit thrown off when they saw the helmet come off and it was a black man, and I know undoubtedly there were some people out there that were like, but there's always going to be people out there who hate. All right. I don't know why we have this hard time understanding the balances of life. As long as there's love, there will be hate. People say you have the right to love whoever you want. If you're a man and you like to take it up the chute and you love other men, you have that right. But on the other side, you also have a God-given right to hate too. It's like, I hate to say it, but it's the truth. All right. Now, you can hate who you want. That's who you are as a human being. The only problem is what you do with that hate. Like if you want to go around hurting people with that hate or denying them employment and things like that, well, then there's a problem there. But the actual, activity, the actual practice of hating someone inside of your own mind and heart, what are you going to do about that? You're going to appoint hate police walking around with a flashlight talking about, I can see it. I can see hatred in his eyes. Get him out of here. No, I think you'd have a very hard time doing that. It's a good thing. If looks could kill, we'd all be in trouble, right? So anyway, it goes on to say, it started with the straightforward racist approach of hating on The Force Awakens because a black stormtrooper was one of the leads of the movie. When their target audience didn't fall in line with that blatantly racist take, they moved on to good old-fashioned misogyny. Wonder where we're going with this. It goes on to say, the hatred of Rey. Oh, there it is. That's where we were going. Couldn't see that coming. The hatred of Rey became a massive point for Star Wars channels. Here we go. Star Wars channels. Of course, that's what we're talking about. We're getting into those pesky YouTubers again. That's what it is. The hatred of Rey became a massive point for Star Wars channels. As soon as The Force Awakens came out, nearly every corner of Star Wars YouTube featured this targeted campaign against Rey. This coordinated effort created similar talking points with different variations in order to spread across online spaces. So, of course, we're going to follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. We're going to go down that road that we always go down, guys. And can you think of what they might be overlooking? I've said this a million times because you want to go straight to those pesky YouTubers. And what YouTubers are they talking about? Of course, they're not talking about me. They're not talking about the Dark Council. They have to be talking about the usuals that they always talk about, the ones who fit their narrative. They have to do it. This is low-hanging fruit for them because they're not smart enough to come up with their own discussion and analytical approach to the reasons why Disney Star Wars is failing. No, it's much easier to say they are racist, they are homophobe, they are misogynists. Okay, all in a day's work. Good night, Sam. Good night, Ralph. And that's a day for them. They call it a day. That's what they do from 9 to 5. An important thing to remember is that these takes come from the same people. The same ones who were screaming and crying because there was a black lead in a Star Wars movie came from the same spaces as the originators of the hate movement against Rey. That's who we're dealing with. Now, after The Last Jedi, all hell broke loose. The message became even more effective with camouflaged talking points that were made to seem more sensible and relatable while still harboring the same theme. So now they're blaming us because our reasons for hating The Last Jedi were actually sensible. They just said it. It's more sensible and relatable, but it's just there. You're using sensibility and relatableness to mask your hatred. Don't talk to us about sensible things. You're just being hateful and you're using sensible arguments to mask it. They sugarcoat the brazenness of their contempt to appear more reasonable. Oh my God, this is just pathetic. The problem is, this sentiment is still alive and growing within the Star Wars community. We saw it with the hatred against Reva in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. The too many female characters take against Ahsoka, and on it goes. All right, listen. We've said many times that it's about the writing, guys. I didn't so much care for it. I thought it was overrated. But if what you're saying is true, then why is it that Rogue One is considered to be amongst the best of them? Rogue One gets a favorable rating from most Star Wars fans. Those same Star Wars fans who hated The Force Awakens and hated The Last Jedi, there's a great number of us who liked Rogue One. And what did Rogue One have? It had a female lead, didn't it? Yes, it did. And it also had the character of Andor. Andor in the TV shows is pretty well received. Once again, I found it great sleeping material, like terminally boring. But there's a lot of people out there like my man Abu Nas who love it, So what is your point there, guys? So anyway, it says here, it has become almost imperceivable from regular Star Wars fandom. Did you hear what they said? It's almost imperceivable. They can't tell the difference between these critiques that are driven by hatred and the actual valid critiques. They can't perceive the difference between them because the only thing they're seeing is white supremacy. You guys are disgusting for overusing the term of white supremacy. There's so much evil that's in this world. There's so much racism. There's so much evil that's done in the name of race. Both sides, all sides, I should say. Every human being has the capacity to prey on other human beings based upon what they see in front of their face, which includes race. But you throwing white supremacy out there so flippantly is a disservice to everyone. It's a danger to everyone. You have about over 93,000 followers as Geeks of Color. There are people who look to you to represent them. And this is the best that you can come up with. You're dumbing down your audience by doing that. Intellectual discourse depends on critical thinking, open-mindedness, listening to one another, communication. You don't get to just easily say white supremacy and leave it alone. Suspected white supremacists. Suspected? I never understood that. What does that mean, Tariq? But anyway, going on. Clearly, I'm not saying a dislike or disappointment in a recent Star Wars project automatically equates to the worst of the fandom, but you are. Did you not read your own words? However, There's a distinct bad faith portion of the Star Wars fandom that has become effective in their messaging and branding as just speaking the truth. No, it's called critiquing. It's called criticism. It's called observation. It's called spending money on a product and then talking about how you feel about that product. If you go to see a movie, you should have the right to say that was some dog shit, or you should have the right to say, damn, I really enjoyed that movie. It was a classic. I can't wait to own it. When you say that, the latter, nobody has a problem with that. When you like something and love something and you're the perfect little consumer, everybody loves you. But if you have anything that's critical to say about it, all of a sudden you're a hater. All of a sudden, because you're the working person who works from 9 to 5, 12 to 8, 4 to 12, you don't have the right to say these things. But you, Geeks of Color, and you, Andres, you can side with a multi-billion-dollar company such as Disney, which can't seem to get this right. Far be it from me to point out, by the way, that John Boyega, that black stormtrooper that you were talking about, John Boyega himself said that he was underwhelmed by the representation of Finn. John Boyega himself took Kathleen Kennedy and company to task for promoting Finn as a starring character in this sequel trilogy, but they didn't deliver. He was nothing more than a glorified slave, a clown, a janitor. All right. But somehow this is something that you feel the need to cape for, to fight for. Look at this. This is the best that we can give our children. He's a janitor. He's a clown who never gets the girl and never becomes a Jedi. If anything, these people that you talk about, the critics, their main critique of Finn is that he is a lost potential. There was a lot of potential, a missed opportunity. He could have been the most valuable, interesting character in the sequel trilogy. That's what you hear more than anything else. All right, I'm not going to argue with you that racism exists. Get the fuck out of here. That's a waste of time. We all know that people are not just walking around lovey-dovey, just loving each other for their differences. They're more than likely to resent each other for their differences. And reasons like this, situations like this are the reasons for that. Because people like you sow those seeds of contempt and resentment. That's what you do. And that's not by accident, is it? That's why you exist. Because you're geeks of color. Why are you geeks of color? You're geeks of color as a matter of fact. You're geeks of color as a title because you want to separate yourself. That's the reason why. I know that you're targeting YouTubers like Geeks and Gamers. Now, imagine, if you will, that Geeks and Gamers renamed themselves Geeks of Whiteness. You're Geeks of Color, so why can't they be Geeks of Whiteness? Who is more divisive? The ones who call themselves Geeks of Color, as if it's a prerequisite to actually be associated with you, or Geeks and Gamers, who actually has a very inclusive roster. I was on their panel a couple of days ago. No conflict of interest there, but yeah. So I was on there. So I'm just saying, before you even thought about me or even acknowledged me or the Dark Council, you see over there, it's just geeks and gamers hanging out, but you're Geeks of Color. Now be proud. Don't get it twisted. Be proud of who you are. All right. It's good to know you're out there and everything, but when you misrepresent, that's when it's a problem for me. All right. And right now you're misrepresenting because you're not challenging yourself to have a real conversation, a real observation, just like Director X. And that's the reason why I go so hard on these things, because you can't make changes from the outside in. It's got to be from the inside out. And as long as we're not talking to each other, we will have no power, no voice in this whatsoever. As long as we're not highlighting each other, you'll never see this video on Geeks of Color because it doesn't agree with their narrative. Now, what's wrong with that? If you can't have opposing ideas, you'll never grow. You'll never challenge each other at all. Going on. The truth is, online grifters have grown exponentially in recent years, and it's important to remember how a lot of them chose Star Wars as their pop culture watering ground in order to cultivate further hateful themes and capture the attention of an overly eager fan base. So let me ask you something, and I put this out there before, and I have yet to have somebody take me up on it. Somebody please provide me with the video of a bunch of white sheets or something like that outside of a Star Wars movie theater blocking me from going in. If they are hateful, as you say they are, I cannot share a movie theater with hateful people. They will not share a movie theater with me. So show me, because it wasn't my experience, show me where this has happened. Anywhere in America, especially, where opposing or diverse audiences were blocked from going into Star Wars because they were so hateful. I don't think it exists, but I'm open to it. So put it in the comment section if you see that, okay? So they're just passing out flyers, passing out flyers, you know? So anyway, it says here, there's been a lot of people who have pointed out this same issue, but I want to bring attention to this post by, there it is, Rewriting Ripley, that really gets into it. So they actually did it, guys. They actually referenced Rewriting Ripley, which we all know is some bullshit. Now, I've done a couple of videos on this over the years. I mean, you know, probably a couple of years ago or so. And I said the same thing to them that I'm saying to you, that I say to Director X. I don't care if I'm the only black voice that's out there who talks about this. All right. But until you do right by where you live, then you're just a clown show. You're just a joke. And until you consider this part of the audience that I represent, then you're not talking about anything. Or the only thing you're trying to do is sit on the lap of those white YouTube creators that you critique so hard and bounce up and down. That's all you want to do. That's all you want to do. You just want to keep fucking with them. All right. But you will never get a clear view of the picture as long as you do that. And you're not going to do it because you know that I will blow your ass out of the water. I will destroy your narrative and you in one swoop. You know, that's what I'm here for. Like I said before, I'm going to keep on talking this talk, guys. I'm not going anywhere. But listen, that's the end of what was going on here with Andres Cabrera. I just wanted to point it out, guys, because as long as it goes on, and there's no need for this, by the way, there's no need for this. The sequel trilogy has come and gone. It's dead and buried. It's already been accepted as a failure. That's the reason why they're always trying to fix Star Wars. They're always trying to inject elements into those TV shows that's out there, so it can somehow tie into the sequel trilogy to make it make sense. Comic books are dedicated to this as well. Everybody knows that the sequel trilogy was garbage, all right? John Boyega knew it when he said what he said. Mark Hamill knew it. Just about everyone who's ever worked on this thing. The guy who played Boba Fett, you know, he talked about how they didn't do right by him. Then Dewey Newton said that she was one of the first black actresses to be prominently featured in Star Wars, and they underserved her by killing her right off the bat. So everybody knows this. So why aren't we talking about this, Geeks of Color? Why aren't we talking about the problems with representation? You know, who was it? I just recently saw this. I think it was Todd Bridges. I just saw him on Vlad TV, Snitch TV. I mean, Vlad TV. Todd Bridges from Different Strokes was talking about how he was supposed to be in the movie The Breakfast Club, you know, with Emilio Estevez and Molly Ringwald and them. And he said that he went to audition for it. He was actually going to go out for the Emilio Estevez part, but he was told that they didn't know how to write for a black character. And so he missed out on the role because they were honest enough, at least, to say, we don't know how to write for a black character. Well, this is the problem that we have with Disney Star Wars and a lot of these virtue signaling bastards out here, because they just want to prop up black people like fucking scarecrows to scare off critics, you know, but they don't want to actually serve the character. And they're not honest enough to admit it. As a matter of fact, they don't care to be honest enough to admit it. They're just deceptive because they want to rob people. And we just go in there, like I said, like we're on a conga line, and we just keep on spending our money and giving it to them. And we're getting nothing. We're getting no legacy characters. I'm talking about black people. If you're having a hard time, you know, Geeks of Color, you know, we're not getting any legacy characters. We're not getting any memorable characters. The only thing we're getting is blackwashed white characters that will be turned back white when it's all said and done. After they get your money, they'll just turn it right back to the way it was. Ownership is something that we should be going for, that we never go for. We never question. If we can't actually own the character, we should at least own the image. We should be proud of the image, but we don't even get that. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to point that out there because, like I said, as long as it goes on, I'll be talking about it. You guys can get in the comment section and let me know how you feel about this. As always, you can like, you can share, and you can subscribe. Thank you guys so much who have been leaving these generous super thanks. I really do appreciate it. I love you for that. I'm a single dad, raising my son. He's getting up there. He's 15. He's going to be going to college soon. So, anything that you give pretty much goes to that, because I'm really trying to save up, man, as much as I can. So I really do thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Anyone who's given, if you never even give, I'm just glad you're here. So anyway, guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks again. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on.